Hello, hello, my Soulpreneur life family and friends. Welcome back to another podcast with us today. We have Miss Marie Landais, which I was debating whether I was going to try to say her name the right way in French. Correct me if I'm wrong. Landais? Landais? Okay,
Yes.
beautiful, amazing. I'm learning Arabic and Spanish, and I've noticed since I'm trying to learn multiple languages at once, my brain like basic things, my brain has just shut off because it's trying to process so much at once. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about leadership, women in leadership, spiritual women in leadership, and what that looks like, and what that sounds like, and all of the things that embodies and encompasses. And I'm really excited about it because for me, I want to hear your perspective on it because for me, my take on women in leadership has looked, I think, different from most women in our field now because I was prior military and my upbringing being what it was and all of that. Um, a lot of what I learned about leadership was from men and then women who had already gotten to their point of leadership, right? Which was amazing. But how I could have got there looked a little bit different than how they got there just because the world continues to evolve and change, right? So I'm really interested to hear your take on it and your share. And welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So tell everyone a little bit of, well, who you are and a little bit about you. And then we can just dive right in.
Yes, like you say, my name is Marie-Laure Landais, Marie-Laure Landais. And yeah, I'm a French Canadian, so that's what a French name. I'm a mother of three beautiful young adults. I'm a grandmother now, like of a little one, almost 2 years old. I've been a healer, coach, leader, mentor, etc., for more than 25, almost 30 years now. I started very young.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've also led many community initiatives in my city, in my province, because here we're a province, uh, and um, and things that, like sometimes I forget. It's like, oh, it's done, it's complete, so I move on to something else. But someone said you have to say it, that I've received some acknowledgement also from my peers and from the community here in my city for some of the projects that I've done that are still going on now with other leaders. And that's
Like
one
what?
of my there's many initiatives about young voters turnout that
Mhm.
are now in schools, in many classes. Like when there's the thing is, like when there's an election,
Yeah.
they we have created tools that helps children, like first
Okay.
children, to play as if they were voters. So they get to learn the whole system. And
Yeah.
also, I've created initiatives to and mostly how would I say that, like tools for young adults when they get to vote. Oh, sorry about that. When they get to vote, how to inform themselves, how to feel that they have the skills to actually vote.
Yeah.
So anyway, so things like that. There's also things about the young artists, always young adults.
Yeah.
Okay, young artists, young people from I call it sexual diversity.
Mhm.
Initiatives for safety in the city and creating community and
Yeah.
things like that, and
Yeah.
many other subject environment. Also create a full course on communication skills, how to
Mhm.
speak in public for holistic practitioners,
Yeah.
because you're not a doctor, so there's different ways of saying things, of talking to people that will not get you in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
But you can
Yeah.
still help and partner with doctors. So I've done many things. Social entrepreneurs also, I mentored social entrepreneurs with their project. So yeah.
That's amazing. And as a healer, it speaks to my heart because you're giving back to the community and the collective and the youth and the next generation and all of that. And a lot of times we see people who get so focused on other things or distractions. That it's not about collective and community. It's about me, self,
Yeah.
my family, my immediate uh, instant gratification, I guess, is what I'm thinking. So just hearing how you stepped up into all of these leadership roles and you've
Yeah.
been doing it for so many years successfully is accolades, like accolades, celebrating you. That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned as a leader to acknowledge myself also, because before, and maybe before I get into that, I can tell you a little bit because you've touched on it. Leadership is not an I experience, it's not
Yeah,
about you, it's
yeah.
a we experience. And I spot real leaders in my world. Real leaders are people surrounded by leaders.
Mm,
If you're not creating other leaders around you,
yes, that's
it's like you're trying to control, you're trying to you're attached to the results, you're, and we've been led to believe that it's alone at the top, so nobody wants to show up because you're going to get the praise but you're also going to get the criticism.
yeah,
And that's what we see. So for most leaders, it's not safe to be out there. So if it's not safe, but they still want to be out there and lead, whether it's, and even for the things for the community, I've seen so many people, like after a few years, they just crash and burn
yeah,
because it's not safe. If you're trying to do it by yourself, if it's about you to some extent, and the ego is very strong,
yeah.
especially when there's the potential of acknowledgement.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and when, so I was saying, like, when I see them crash and burn, because when you feel you're not safe, what do? You create a response to feel that you're safe. So you try to control your environment, try to control people, you try to direct. So leaders with authority, or sometimes they can, it's a fine line, like shift to the I am the leader, so you have to follow me. So follow or get the hell out of my way,
Like
you
that
know?
my way or the highway type of thinking is really
Yes,
empowering
that's
and
it.
creating the next series of leaders.
Yeah, that's it. And for women, the
Mhm.
models of leadership that we have are the models of men. And maybe it works for men, you know, to be a little bit detached and go for it and lead and have many followers and all that. And it's a model that can be good for some instance. I'm sure that in the army, you follow the rules and that's it. And you follow rules up until you get an upgrade, you know?
Yeah. But even that looked different for women. In my experience, becoming a leader, that looked different for me than it did for my male peers. And then being a Black woman in certain units, it looked completely different as well. And those are things that some people they have the privilege of not having to consider or think about. But true leaders, they see diversity and they see it for the gift that it is. And I was blessed because the people who were training me to be a leader always told me, train your soldiers, train the people that you're working with to take your job, and you learn how to take my job, right? Like
Mhm.
that was the
Mhm.
trail. And so that was the blueprint that I followed, and I still kind of follow that in my life. But it looked different because certain things coming from me had to be done differently in order to be received and heard. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but there's sometimes where you can say something and a person will pretend like they did not hear you, but a male voice comes in and says the same exact thing, and suddenly it's this great idea, light bulb moment, right? So I really had to learn how to navigate getting my voice heard where I didn't have to yell, I didn't have to be that
Mm.
crazy person, but what I said was heard and they shifted into action. And for me, it took having strong female women leaders to kind of bring me in and say, listen, this is my experience, here it is. And then kind of dilute what the men in leadership positions had been training me and kind of like blend the two.
Yeah.
So it was a different experience completely for me in that way. And then coming into the healing space, that was something totally different. But that's where I was with that. So I know that you,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that, and it's a good point because we are who we are, what people see,
Yeah,
and all the filters we have about that, you know, being Black women, people listen differently.
yeah,
Like, and it's cultural construct. You know, I know we can talk about this for hours, but
yeah.
so, you know, it's not a topic right now, but yeah, but yeah, so and I believe that in the healing world, the coaches, mentors, and leaders, we're still trying to find a way to a leadership that is expansive and inclusive.
Mhm,
And I really use like expensive, that it's not a way to the top, but it's a space where we open up and include, you know, more
right.
people. Um, I had my when I started as a leader, like at some point in my 20s, I was starting to say something that was like people were just like, yeah, yeah, it's never gonna happen. It's
Yeah.
like I want a world that works for everyone, no one left behind. And there's always people left behind. There's always, you know, you just have to look at the world, open the news, and you'll see that there are people left behind. But if we start to say it and take a stand for it, there will be new actions that we're going to take. So
Mhm,
that's why at some point it was very clear, if I'm not creating other leaders who will take on other vision, missions, projects, if I'm not doing that, I'm not fulfilling on my own mission, which
mhm,
is no one left behind. So it became not about me or, oh, this one would be good for that project, so I'm gonna push them. They don't want to do it, but yeah, you'll be good. And people are saying this a lot, you know, like, oh, you'll be good in that, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I will do it. Still ego, you
mhm,
know. But anyway, I divert there, but it's that thing where if we listen to what people, um, more and more, to what they stand for, what
mhm,
matters to them, what they're committed to, where they want to participate in the community,
mhm.
and then light up, you know, those qualities of expansive leadership, as I call it. I think we can have a world that works. Maybe not in my lifetime, but you know, can open up to new ideas, new project, new ways of being human with one another.
I think that it's happening now too. I love that you've said it, and I mean, it's beautiful how you've said it because I can just envision the expansiveness of that all. And when we allow people to be in their zone of passion, their zone of genius, their zone of excitement, right? That is where creativity lies. That is where passion and
Yeah,
excitement and just all of the things come alive. Like I have chills thinking about it because I understand it. And we have so many people who are working, for example, a typical 9 to 5 job to survive in the world where we
yeah,
have all of these made up rules for all of these made up governments, for all of these made up borders, for all of these made up wars, for all of these things that are made up, man made to survive when there could be so much more if we let people be who they came here to be. Like we weren't born to go work in a cubicle. We weren't born to, you know, live, serve someone else, and then pass on, transition. Like everybody has a purpose.
yeah,
And no matter how easy your life is or how hard your life is, there's opportunity in each of it when you're given the space and the freedom to connect and to
yeah,
explore and to see the needs of your community, to see the needs of the world around you, and then participate in it. But so many people are put into these boxes and these roles that they're not given the opportunity to because they're so busy trying to survive in the world
yeah,
or their environment. But what you're sharing, I look at my daughter, she's a Gen Alpha, right? And she's 10 years old, and her and her friend groups, like they are so incredible to me. They're absolutely insane. They're savage, they're wild, but like they're so passionate and they are so alive with like connectedness and wanting to change the world and wanting to like change the systems that we have in place. And a part of me, like my little millennial heart, I'm like, I was like you too. I was like, you once too, baby. Like, don't ever lose that fire. So just what you're
Mm.
sharing about that desire to want to see it, like it's happening. And I do believe in the power of words too. And when we're saying things, we're breathing life into it and we're planting seeds in the ears of those around us. So your lifetime, you're seeing it like it's happening. I promise it's
Yes.
happening.
Yes, well, so you said you're a millennial, I'm a Gen X.
Yeah,
So I've seen a before and after a few things.
yeah,
And I, yes, I have faith. I have faith that things can transform. And at the same time, being human is always living in this duality
yeah,
of right or wrong, this is good or bad, I'm good, I'm worthy, I'm not. So
true.
living in that, and that's the basics of survival, like as a human being. And then it's surviving to just like make ends meet, to eat,
Mm,
have a shelter. So that's why I'm like, I will be ruthless, in having people find their own uh I don't, I'm not even sure how to say this, but find their own light and see it, actually, not find it, like see it, like it's there. See the
yes,
light and the impact it can have on people. And that doesn't need any money in the bank account,
yeah.
you know, like being a human being, like complete, all messy, but complete, present, and aware. um like finally I found, after a few years, like what's my title. Like, I'm a soul alignment guide.
Yeah.
And people are just like, yeah, but alignment, it takes so much energy, to be in alignment all the time. Well, it's not that it takes energy if you take it from the space where it's not about working on yourself, it's not about fixing something or correcting, some kind of defect that we can have.
Yeah.
For me, alignment is awareness, awareness of where I am right now, awareness of my surrounding, of my interaction with people, my impact on others. So the way I said it at some point, it's like it's not more work on yourself or figuring things out. We like to try, we like to comprehend why. Why am I in pain? Oh, yes, because my mother, blah, 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 my father, blah, 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 my sister did something when I was 10 years old. Alignment is the fine line between surviving life or being aware of when it shifts between surviving life and living life fully.
Mm,
And we know, like, when we are trying to survive people around us, trying to survive the 9 to 5, trying to survive the children after school, the before bed, because it creates a loss of vitality, a loss of vision, of joy. We're just living until we die. And I refuse that for myself. I
mhm.
refuse that. And, a few years back, I hit a big wall. I was diagnosed with cancer. And even though I thought I was living fully and doing all these things and having all this fun and community, social things going on, I was still surviving, trying to survive being with people. I was adjusting myself to like profound anxiety. And I see that a lot in women, leaders or not,
Yeah.
that we have learned to adjust to a world that is not safe. So we're surviving it. We're surviving the men around us. We're surviving other women around us. We're surviving choices that we're not sure we made, fully knowing what it entails.
Mm,
It's like, oh, I married and I had kids because it was the way to go. But for some people, it was like, yeah, here it's very interesting because where I come from, people don't get married. Maybe more now, but we get into partnership and there's, the law organize all that. So you're like in if you were married, but not, and you can have kids and all that. So when I travel and I say, no, I'm not married, I've never been married and I have kids, they're like, oh, it happens. Oh,
like,
poor you.
right? Like it's a bad thing.
Like, poor you. But so the point I'm making is that we are making choices to fit in a world that is not safe. And when I say safe, it's not that we're going to get attacked in the street. Well, sometimes it happens, but I mean safe to be ourselves, safe to fully express our dreams, safe to fully be, messy sometimes and not have it all together,
Yeah.
you know? So living life fully instead of surviving life, for me, it's like it's not more work. It's just that sometimes it's just stop and breathe. Like I know I'm trying to catch my breath. I'm running somewhere, I don't know where. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, whoa, slow down. And I bring myself back here. And when I do that, I can deal with whatever's going on. Because when we run, like I was doing before, when we run, you don't see the wall when it's coming.
Yeah.
And I see it around me. Like I'm 51. Like I have three friends right now, same age as me, dealing with cancer. It's
Mm.
a lot in a group of friends, It's not one out of 2 million. It's 3 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And then others with are dealing with chronic pains. We're still young, we're still fresh and alive, and we're trying to survive, you know, what life throws at us. And I've decided to slow down. And I try, like in my work, I bring people to just slow down. Nothing's gonna happen in 10 minutes that you
Right.
cannot just stop and breathe. Nothing's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're attached to things that we think are so like, oh my God, it's like, and I'm like, nothing's gonna happen. If I eat dessert for dinner, nothing's gonna happen. There's gonna be another dinner tomorrow, you know?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's not like, and I've tried things like that. Sometimes I'm not hungry
Hmm.
and I have popcorn for dinner.
Yeah.
And I said that to a friend once and she was like, "What? Oh, it's not very healthy." And I'm like, you know, I'm gonna be hungry maybe in 3 hours and I'll have proper dinner. I don't know.
Yeah.
But nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen if kids have peanut butter toast for dinner,
Yeah.
once.
Right. No, I agree with you. And I think I had written something in the book that I had written, um,
Mhm.
just about like travel and dance and eat the cake and wear your favorite clothes. And it doesn't have to be this structured lifestyle that society and religion has put into the normal day to
Yeah,
days, right? Because a lot of things that we think are normal, it's based on some sort of religious thing that if you trace it far enough back.
yeah,
Um, so not getting married and not following the rules all the time, like it's totally fine. Everything is literally made up.
yeah.
It's all made up.
And what are your own rules?
Yeah.
When you stop and breathe, you can have your own, you can express what is truly aligned with yourself. And
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't fit, but I think that at some point, like I got to, I'm an adult. I don't have
Exactly.
my parents to tell me what to do,
Uh-huh.
you know? Like,
I have to remind myself of that too. And I still go to therapy because I think it helps me keep balance.
yes.
And my therapist, he reminds me of that often as well too. He's like, you remember you're the adult, right? Like a couple years ago, I wanted to paint, but then I kept talking myself out of painting the walls in my house because growing up, we were not allowed to touch the walls. We were not allowed to paint the walls. We were not allowed to hang posters up with pens or tacks or anything. And he
Mm-mm.
was like, it's easy enough to paint the wall if you want to sell your house, but I mean, it's your house. You're the grown up. You get to make the rules. So when my daughter and I painted, the first thing we did was we drew hearts on it first, and we wrote notes to each other, and then we painted it all up and we made a mess. And, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's not about also because I can hear people, I know how people react when I say like just do whatever you want.
Yeah,
But we still need, I think, some kind of balance, some kind
balance. Yes.
I would say discipline in my life, dealing with my health means that no, I cannot have cake every day for 3 meals,
Right.
uh, like I mean it's the coherence for yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, alignment comes with that. If you say, I want to be healthy, I want to, you know, like fulfill on this or this dream, well, your action needs to be in alignment with that. So it starts with, where do you stand for yourself? What do you say about yourself? What do you say about the world? Where you stand for
Mm-hmm.
your community, your family. You know, we don't all have to go out there and end racism.
Yeah.
You
It would
know,
be nice. It
yeah,
would
yeah,
be.
absolutely. Absolutely. But if your capacity right now is supporting your family, you know, so be clear on where you stand. So it's easier, well, it's never easier, but it gets easier to say no to things and yes to things. And I think that comes with the values we bring into our own alignment. You know, values that for me are the pillars of my alignment. It's like it's a non-negotiable,
Mhm.
you know, like for easy one, you know, like respect.
Yeah.
But respect means I treat myself with respect, I treat others with respect. And if I don't do that, I go and clean it up.
Yeah.
I said to someone this week, it's like, I work with a team right now and I have assistants. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, so I
Yay.
have yes, so I have a
Yeah.
team. And then I said, my work is to support you so you can support your people.
Yeah.
And then I said, if you feel that sometimes I push or there's an interaction and you felt that I disrespected you, please come and tell me. And if I catch it, and I'm very, you know, like my listening, my hearing is very acute
Yeah.
to that. If I do something and and I catch it, like myself being disrespectful or being too pushy or whatever, trying to control, sometimes I want things to happen. Let's go.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, then I'm an adult. I'll come and apologize.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna happen, you know. But most people, for us, well, most women, and I'm gonna talk about women, it's like we live in shame. So when something happens, we hide and
Mm.
then we ghost people. And then we're like, and then our friends are like, oh, it feels that, yeah, we fell off. It's life. She was busy. But no, if you go and check out, sometimes you'll find there was shame. Some things that maybe you didn't see, but they felt ashamed and they felt I would be judged, I didn't want to impose it. And we live in a world where we adjust and we disconnect. So for me, like living as an adult, living in alignment means one of this. It's like I explore what it means to be an adult. Not adult, I pay my bills.
Yeah.
Not adult, I don't know, I fit into a world of commitments that I didn't choose. No, it's like being an adult. It's being right here, right now, and owning who I am, owning the impact that I have on others. And if the impact I have on others disrupt things, I go and clean it up.
Yeah.
And for me, that's mean being a leader in your own life, being the leader of yourself. Because there's also that part, you can all be leaders and do the amazing things and get the acknowledgement. I had all these things and I was miserable inside because
Mm.
I lived in shame. I felt that it was never enough. I think most people, can relate to that. And women, it feels that we're never doing enough for others and we
Yeah.
do more and more and more, and then we're like, I don't have anything left for myself. So being an adult and being in alignment with myself means that I take care of myself too. No one left behind means you also
Yeah.
in the equation.
And can I just say, because I'm hearing what you're saying and it's landing on my heart because I've I'm similar to you and I've been this way since I was younger, where if I mess up and I catch myself, I apologize. Or if someone comes to me, like I swallow it and I apologize or I try to correct it. But something that I've noticed is that once you start owning that, oh, hey, I messed up. My bad. This is not what I intended. Let me go back and redo this, or let me set this right with you, right? People don't always know how to receive women in that capacity.
Yeah.
I, how do I say that? I don't want to overshare, but I was married at 18 and I got divorced by the time I was, what, 27, 28. And that happened in my marriage, where if I realized I was wrong, or maybe I was totally just off the mark in my communication, I would apologize and try to communicate something, right? And not everyone, to include men, are able to receive women in that capacity when we own who we are, when we own our mistakes, and we don't slide into shame, and we don't let people talk us into circles and say whatever they need to say to fulfill their needs of their ego or whatever it is that they're trying to feed, right? So whether it's leadership in your life, or in the army, or in your holistic business, or
Mm,
your relationships, I think that that's something else that is a part of what we learn to navigate, because I know I had to learn how to navigate that. I had to learn, like, why aren't you receiving this? Like, I'm telling you, I messed up. Like, why is that? Why are we having this, round and round? I don't understand. So I think that that's an important part of it as well. Have you had any experience with that too? Because I know sometimes women
mm.
in leadership or in business can slip into even imposter syndrome, or a number of other things, right? But have you noticed
Mm.
that, or had any experience with that?
Well, the thing you said about people are not able to receive, when we own, whatever happened,
Right.
because it's like we it's a way of opening ourselves,
Hmm.
It's like we drop all the mask and what, oh, I messed up, you
Yeah.
know, like I apologize for this, and
Yeah.
do you have anything to say about that? People are not able to be with that because if you are in a dynamic where people are trying to win, like
Mhm.
energetically, we're trying to win and survive, someone that drops all the arms and the guns and is not fighting, you're just left with, uh, okay, well, so there's no fight. So people are just like, so there's no way to control you, no way to pin you down,
Yeah.
no way to gain power over you. So of course people are uncomfortable. I would say it like
Yeah.
nicely, but yeah, so they don't know how to react. But at some point, I think the more we own who we are, the more we stand strong in that space of, I would say, like simplicity and authenticity.
Yeah.
People navigate towards us because they start to feel safe around us.
Yeah.
They get that we're not trying to gain power over them, that, like the other way around. If
Hmm.
you want to feel safe in your world, make it safe for others to be around you.
Why is
Because
it bringing up that thought that I have? Like, I don't know. So I speak very frank. Like, if I say, hey, this apple is a green apple, like, there is no undertone, there is no hidden layer. I'm not playing a game, I'm not at war with you. But there's kind of this societal thing that I've noticed, or maybe it's a generational thing, where people want to say that there's something else to it. And navigating that is also something that I've noticed. You create spaces for people to come, right? Because they're like, well, she seems safe. Let me see if she's fake or not. Or, it kind of feels okay. Like, let me see, let me dip my toe in. And initially, like many years ago, this doesn't happen now, but many years ago, when I was learning how to navigate being seen, showing up as myself, and truthfully, and no undertones, I don't hate anyone, I'm just being me. You have people who will come to you who want you to kind of be their bodyguard in a way, because they're trying to learn from you, but then not everyone will take the action to step into their own leadership and their own voice.
mm,
So they can misuse your willingness to be that voice or that guide as well. I know it sounds like a lot. I may have just talked in circles and how I was trying to say it without giving a scenario, but
well, there's something about that, like at the beginning when you transform something in you,
mhm,
you create a new invitation for people
mhm,
because you've been interacting with people in a way. So they see you in a certain way. They think they know what they can tell you, not tell you, how they can react, be with you.
Yeah.
And when you transform something within and you take a stand and you own and you develop your expensive leadership, you with yourself first, you create a new energetic invitation.
Hmm.
People don't know you that way. So they
Yeah.
will test, not consciously, but they will try to bring you back to the dynamic. So that's why, and I see that a lot with new coaches, in the holistic experience of coaches, is that they stand for themselves, they go out there, and then they have this experience that people around them are getting angry. Oh, you change. Oh,
Mm.
you're not the same. Oh, your thing. What are you talking about? Who do you think you are?
Oh, that,
And
yeah.
yes,
Or you
and
think you're,
then yes, and then we tend to push them away. Oh, they don't understand what I'm doing. They don't get me anymore. Blah blah blah, and whatever. And then we have a whole bunch of beautiful, amazing women all alone,
hmm
disconnected from their families and friends. But if you give it just a little bit of time
hmm
and sit and let people have their reaction, we don't have to engage with everything that they bring. We
hmm
can just be there and say, oh, I get that it triggers something. I still love you, but I'm doing something for myself and I would like your support for that. Sometimes we have to speak things out for people, but we don't speak like that. I'm aware.
yeah.
But standing as a leader for yourself, you start to speak like that. You start to tell people that you love them, that yes, you're trying to make something good for yourself. My vision is this for people, and you're still included.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to take a little bit of adjustment for each other, but how can we keep our connection?
Yeah.
And it feels so foreign for people to talk like that or hear people talking like that. I think it's more and more. But we coach people to do that and we don't even do it for ourselves.
I I do. I try to. I call it a practice. I try to. I definitely
Yes.
try to. And I think that the balance of going to therapy kind
Mm,
of helps keep me in check too,
yeah.
because like you've mentioned before, it's easy for me to take on the responsibilities of myself and everyone around me and want to
Yeah.
nurture and love on everyone. And then before you know it, I'm burnt out. So I
Yeah.
do my best to speak plainly and to get to the point so that people know, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And I've even started, I think it was probably in 2020 with my daughter, I even started telling her, like, hey, I'm overstimulated. We were like in
Mm,
quarantine, lockdown, and
yeah.
doing virtual schooling and all the things. And I was so overwhelmed because my business was doing really great and I was doing all of these other things, but I didn't know how to manage everything. And on top of that, my injuries and stuff like that, and my health. Um, so using language became even more important for
Mm,
me, and saying, "Hey, I love you. This isn't about you. I am overstimulated and I need a minute." And that's carried over into here we are, 2024, where I'm still very plain and direct with people, and I'll let people know, like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this yet. Let me come back to this. Whereas before, many years ago, 10 years ago, even, I probably would have tried to give them the answer to get the situation over with quickly and what I thought would please them or make them happy, even if it depleted me. Right.
yeah.
And that was a trap that I fell into as a leader myself, was just because we can do something doesn't mean we have to or we should do something. Sometimes things are hard for people, not you, but other people around you, because they're building skills that they need for their own purpose, for their own legacy. And we have to let people try. We have to let people fail and let them be really bad at something so that they can get good, and support them where we can, but not take over.
Mm,
So I hear what you're saying and I respect it. And I love that you're bringing up um, the aspect of how coaches, like holistic healers and all of that, are kind of in that space where they can be seen in that light because it's very true. It's very, very true. And it's why I work with so many clients who are the theme comes up is afraid to be seen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's not because they're not talented, incredible human beings.
yeah.
They're
Well,
incredible.
yeah, and that part, of being seen, the
Mhm.
way I transformed it for myself, and maybe that could be of some help, is that I started to focus on the vision.
Yeah,
When I said a leadership is not about you, it's
yeah,
about we,
right.
as a community, and the community you decide it is, you name. For me, it was the world at some point because I was 25 years old and all that. And at some point it was, okay, women with this, so and and what I want to say about that is that's
Okay.
when I say it's like
Yeah,
it's like the word just like whoop, disappeared.
that's okay. Take a moment. We're not
Yes.
going anywhere.
You were saying, um, um,
The
oh yeah,
holistic.
okay, yes. So the way I transform that for myself, the way to be seen is to focus on the vision, you know? So if I was not to get up today and show up,
Yeah.
the world will collapse, If I wasn't there to listen, like at the time, listen to a teenager or a young adult going through something, there would be no one else. So I created my vision to like an impossible mission.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only one, I'm the one. And if I don't show up, maybe that kid won't have anyone to hear them or
Mm,
listen to them. So it's like a little shift in the mind, just trick the mind that it's not about me and what people see, it's about what I stand for.
mhm.
And sometimes I look at, oh my God, I was, like working and I was wearing that. My hair was like this. I look at videos of myself, like in the past few years, I did a lot of Facebook lives and
Yeah.
and things, and I'm like, oh my God, my accent, my French accent, and I'm so
I love it.
my ends, and I do all these things. But at some point, I was just like, well, this is how I show up, and but what I'm saying, and the stronger you are in your stand for the thing, your mission, your vision for your family, your business, but for the world and the people you support and help.
Yeah,
Because you're not, and if anyone thought that being a coach was easy, it's not easy. You have to listen to some people whine and complain for 10 minutes before we get to the juicy parts. It's like, no, who wants to put themselves through that? Sometimes you have to dig hard and to have the person see their own light. So if you're not fully committed to your mission, you know, yes, you will struggle with being seen. You will struggle with the way to say things properly, to not trigger anyone, to do the thing that fit right into the models of how a holistic coach should look like.
yeah,
It doesn't should look like anyway in any kind of way. It looks like you, and
exactly.
you is complete. You is perfect. You is the light that needs to shine in the world through the words and the way you express yourself.
Mhm,
And and lately I've seen the coaches that are suddenly showing up on my feed are the ones who doesn't care about how to launch a program, what to say about it. They're just out there and you can feel their stand for your own happiness and transformation.
yeah,
It's really not about them.
I love
Like
that.
truly.
Yeah.
So, being a leader starts with being here for yourself, and being here for yourself has nothing to do with how people perceive you.
Mhm,
And I know we say this and we try to comprehend how this, but you know did someone judge you when you were a kid or a teenager? Yes, you're still alive.
mhm,
People will still judge you, and we still judge people for judging us. So it's a never ending thing. So maybe we can shift the focus somewhere else. shift the focus to what you want to accomplish instead of how people are going to perceive your mission, vision, and the way you look and the color of your lipstick.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll take people through the journey of like what it's like if someone's afraid to be seen like launching something, and say the examples like what if my family member sees me, or what if I
Mm,
mess up on the live and I say something silly or something like that. I'm like, okay, what if that happens? And I let
yeah.
them share what they think is going to happen. Like, come up with it. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, and what if that does happen? What if you do? What if the internet goes out? What if your uncle sees you? What if your cousin sees you? What if they share it? What if they repost it? Who cares? Like, what is the worst that's going to happen, right? And we just kind of like every time they come up with something and I
Yeah.
say, okay, what if that does happen? What if that does happen? What if that does happen? And then by the time we get to the end of it, it's so deconstructed that it's not this big, huge mountain. And it's like, oh, I guess I could really do this and it won't be as hard.
Mm,
Um, I think that there's just sometimes, and this is why I'm always talking about it's important to have community. Um, it's just allowing yourself to have this space to deconstruct it, to look at it from a different
yes.
perspective and to feel it differently. Because being seen, it means something different for everyone. I understand that,
Mm,
but we can kind of come together to really take it apart so that it's not this big mountain that maybe our minds or your mind makes it makes you believe that it is. And I think that that is really powerful too, and a good use of energy and a good use of time.
yeah. There was a few years back when I started to do stuff online.
Mhm.
That was very interesting because I've had experience in the world,
Yeah.
like in the world outside of the online world. And when I shift to the online world, it was adjustment, and it was as if it was all new. Like people didn't know me, even though I had 20 years of experience, they didn't know that, or they didn't feel that, or it's difficult to show that up. And then someone came up on my page and said, "Oh yeah, how do you say that? Like snake oil, blah blah blah. Like same old. Like
Yeah.
get away from her, or you know."
Yeah.
So, so I was like, "Oh, that's interesting that you would say that, without having used my services, so you don't know what's going on."
Yeah.
Of course, there's always something about, it got me to think about the way I was showing up. And yes, I was trying to fit, be nice, and work with me because it's gonna be so great.
Yeah.
And with that, because it was an adjustment for me too. And then after I said that, I went on my own page on Facebook, my personal page, and I said, well, if I was that bad,
Yeah.
I'm sure that some of you would have told me in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And that person came under that post and started to rant about me and how I was abusing people, how I waited for my parents to die and I done nothing to take their money and then travel and then have the big life. And like some people know my relationship with my father, like anyway.
Yeah.
So so and my mother, like my mother was so close to Mars. So when she died, I was like, it took me, it's been 10 years this month and I'm still not over it. And I was just like, where the hell does that come from, you know and my community took over. I didn't respond to that. My community took over. People like, and
Mhm.
at some point I was just like, we don't have anything to convince her of.
Yeah.
She doesn't know me. We don't
Yeah.
know her. Bye. so
Yeah.
so I deleted the whole thing. But I sat there alone and I cried like someone had unveiled my, when you said about, I have imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Someone had seen through my freaking bullshit that I was throwing at the world, the shiny things that I wanted people to see. And behind it, I had this self esteem issue, you know? So I get that it's deeper for some people. And this is where, like afraid to be seen can be rooted in a lack of self esteem and a strong fear of messing up, of not being up to par, of not having what it takes, of being afraid of showing something that we truly believe in, but we don't believe we believe in the thing, but we don't believe that we have what it takes to, bring it forth, because we see all these leaders that are so amazing and doing things. So yes, there will be people outside on the internet that you don't know that maybe will come and say things about you. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm still here and I'm still doing the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly right. And that's important. And I think having those experiences also lets you see like, okay, it happened and I survived. And I think in my experience of helping people who are transitioning online, because that is a big change. And I've had a few people who have brick and mortar businesses and practices and
hmm,
they've taken them online. Um, that is a different experience for them. And so allowing yourself to have those experiences also gives you the confidence in how to deal with them because after you feel the feelings because it is a vulnerable feeling and sometimes people who are really religious or dedicated to their religion can be really cruel in
yeah,
online comment sections and allowing yourself to just kind of separate and understand like this is an
yeah,
opportunity for me to realign energetically. I had to realign my whole online presence, right? But it feels really good when you have your community support. And it feels really good when you're able to say, you know what, that was really unkind, but I have the power
yeah,
to remove this person from my energy and space so that I can come back and help the people who are waiting in quiet desperation for me to share whatever it is that I'm sharing. And that right there adds to your legacy.
yeah,
It adds to your confidence. It takes away from the imposter syndrome. It gives you more evidence that what you are doing does matter. It gives you evidence that what you're saying is making an impact. It gives you proof
yeah,
of all of the positive things. And sometimes we have to be reminded to look for the evidence of the positive things, to look for the proof of the impact that's being made, to look for the proof. Like you came on and you were talking about, you had to remind yourself to give yourself credit for the things that you have done that are still going to this day. And we have to remind ourselves that, hey, don't forget to look back as you are evolving in your leadership, as you're evolving and being seen, as you're evolving on your path, look back and appreciate what you have done.
yeah,
Look back and give yourself credit for the things in the lives that you have impacted because it matters. It matters. And sometimes we're just planting a seed with someone, sometimes we're watering a seed with someone.
yeah,
There's always a harvest that's going to be reaped at the end, right? And so looking back is so important. And whether you're a woman who is in leadership in her business, in her practice, in her just her life or whatever it is, look back, right? Because it's going to help you see the blueprint that you have made. And sometimes it's easy when your head is down and you're leading and you're doing all the things to kind of get off track from where you wanted to go. And it allows you to kind of recenter yourself and say, what were the last check-in points where I really felt seen and appreciated and
mm,
valued and loved and whatever it is that you're seeking more of. And you can kind of reset to that point and then try again because again it's okay to be seen restarting. It's okay to be seen as a beginner. It's okay to be seen making mistakes. It's okay to be
yeah,
seen. And women are allowed to be seen. Women are allowed to be loud. Women are allowed to behave like men if they want to. Women are allowed to behave like themselves fully all the time, right? Like there's no real rule for any of it. Just
yeah,
don't hurt anyone, right? Like just don't hurt other people. Just be a good human,
yeah.
right?
That's it.
It's my disclaimer because I know some people will be like, well, she said. No, no, I didn't. And so I just think it's really important that is said and it's, give yourself that space, go to spaces where it empowers you. And one of the pillars for soulpreneur life is empower.
Mm,
And it goes back to I want to create people who are empowered to be seen for who
mm,
they are, doing what it is that they love to do. And I made that one of the pillars because um, through my own journey and evolution of working with different healers and teachers and mentors. Like you said, there are some who they meet you one way and then they're a little bit different behind the scenes. And then there's a little bit of ego and it I don't want to say it taints your experience, but it
Yeah,
changes your experience. It puts a different flavor in your mouth, right? And they kind of want to keep you in this cycle where you're stuck with them forever,
yeah.
stuck to their
Hmm.
hip, stuck to their purse, right? So that you're constantly paying them. And I won't, yes, I'm a business. So yes, pay me please, because my business has bills. But at the same time, I don't want people stuck with me in that cycle of just keep buying things from me and you're not getting value. Like I want to empower you. Like you said, you want them to see their light. I want to empower you in whatever your dream and your passion is. If it's like you want to change the world, change the world. If you want to change your local community, change your local community, whether it's big or small, right? Whatever it is. And so I think that that clarity, having that clarity is really important.
Mm.
And I love that you have shared the things that you've shared because I know that they're going to make an impact for someone. Um, and I just, I love hearing your perspective on it. Is there a specific moment or something that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, well, there is this thing that you just said about, sometimes I feel that, yeah, for some coaches, you feel that you're attached to them and constantly, like going with them. My approach on that is more like you have a choice, and I want you to be free to choose and feel
Yes,
empowered in that choice. If
yes.
you're saying yes because you're afraid of my reaction, we have a problem here,
Or like
you
you're
know?
not strong enough to do it on your own, right?
Yeah. So for me, it's like if you feel empowered with the choices that you have, it's not about me.
Hmm.
It's like me, it's like I run a business. It has nothing, it's not personal to me if you say no. I want you to be able to say no or yes and feel empowered with both. I've dealt with and I left, at the beginning, I left people in standing in between. It's not a powerful place to stand.
Hmm.
It's like, and sometimes it's not a full yes, it's not a full no. Okay, so let's sort that out. And sometimes it's not a full yes. You want to say no because there's like considerations. Fine, say no now. Doesn't mean that it's going to be no in 6 months. So if you're a business owner and people say no to you, let them go with grace and love.
Yes.
They are adults. They are the owners of their own wallet and money. They do whatever they do. But for me, my ethics goes if I feel that they're saying yes and it's a shaky yes, I will go for the full yes. And if it's not coming, I will say no.
Yeah. That's
Because I
important.
don't, yes, because 2 weeks later, they're like, oh man, but this happened. And they're not fully committed and engaged in the process and they don't participate fully.
Yeah.
I want people who are saying yes and are scared to for the yes, like I said yes and I'm I'm freaking out,
Yeah.
like the energy is building up because they know that transformation is coming up and there's
Yeah.
already a transformation happening. If
Yeah.
they're saying yes and just like blah blah blah, yeah, oh yeah, because I have no reason to say no. It's like I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
So the choice is important.
Mhm.
I choose for myself. And sometimes I choose and I hear my children like, are you sure? Because, I'm dealing with my health right now.
Right,
And
right.
I'm like, I get your concern, but this is a line for myself. Trust me, you
Yeah.
know. So I want to trust people with their own choices when I present them with the choice.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's my take on that. And so there's a few things, like there is leadership,
Mhm.
yeah, out there, but there's and leadership out there works if you have ownership of your own space, of your own heart. It's
Mhm.
not easy to get to that point, and sometimes we want to please people, we want to love them, we negotiate, and it's okay, it's part of being human. But the more we get back to ourselves and own, our own art and desires and what are the things we want.
Yeah.
So these are the two parts that for me are truly important. Um, Aside from alignment,
Yeah. Yeah.
like choosing a life that you can live fully. And it's really a choice. And sometimes we have only one choice in front of us, but we still get to choose. One day they said, hey, cancer, choose. It's not cancer or not cancer, it's cancer, choose.
Yeah.
So I had to choose it to be able to deal with it from my own heart, my own space, my own desires. So that kind of leadership goes for anything in your life, not just in business, but for any kind of things you need to lead in your life. Um, and and we haven't touched on that, but coaching people who are leaders,
Mhm.
you know, I believe, and for in my experience, requires a kind of listening that is always bigger than the person that you have in front of you, or where they perceive themselves to be. And
Mhm.
it needs to, like to stretch yourself to hold more space than they need to see themselves and then grow inside of that. So for me, it was true listening. I've been trained in a listening that allows people to hear their own thoughts and make the connections for themselves. I'm more like a guide than a coach that says, "Yeah, do this, and things will fall in line." I'm more like, I know that you have the wisdom inside of you, so I
Mhm.
will listen in a way that it will be so clear for you that I won't even have to speak sometimes. So I think that requires skills, like being with people who have a big vision, who
Mhm.
see themselves like and see the impact they can have. So being able to hold that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, being able to hold space and actively listen, those are two skills that I think everyone should have. I mean, I try not to say should, but I mean, if
Yeah,
everyone could have those skills, it would be amazing because not holding space doesn't always mean you're talking or you're doing anything, right?
yeah,
And I've had that experience, I think most of my adult life where sometimes I could just sit with someone and listen to them in that way that you've mentioned, where suddenly you're like, oh, I've inspired for this, or I'm clear on that. And suddenly everything makes sense and the dots are connected, or whatever the case. And, I think that it makes more sense now because I have an understanding. This version of Kendra has a better understanding of
nice.
um, what was going on kind of through that journey. So I think a lot
Mm,
of people are going to walk away from what you've shared about all of it, everything,
mm,
with so much value. And I'm so grateful that you've been here for your
mm.
time, for your energy, for your wisdom. Um, Conscious women in leadership. It's a powerful thing. And I know that you wanted people to have the steps like awareness shifting and how to shift in their own lives and in their own being. Do you feel like we've touched on everything that you wanted
Yeah,
to?
yeah. And the thing, I think that if there's one thing I want people to leave with,
Yeah.
aside of everything else that I've
Yeah.
said, is that in your life, take moments to breathe and stop and breathe. Nothing's gonna happen in the 1 minute that you sit down and just be with whatever's going on. And sometimes, like whatever's going on will just like flow away.
Yeah.
Because if we don't stop to just like let it be, sometimes we, whoops. We bring it inside and it accumulates,
Yeah.
accumulate. And I show here because for me, it accumulate in one of my breasts and they had to remove it. Now I stop and yeah, I stop trying to control how I feel. You know, if the day I had with people was a mess and I feel overwhelmed or whatever, and I feel that I'm holding myself with glue,
Yeah.
when I come back home, I stop. You know, I don't stop right in the middle of the action. Or sometimes I go to the bathroom and I just like, okay,
Right.
recollect, recollect, bring yourself back, then see what you can do to shift, you know, like yourself. So it can shift the dynamic. And sometimes just stopping for 10 seconds will shift the dynamic. We don't
Absolutely.
have to engage in everything people say or do or throw at us.
Yeah.
Oh, you look like this. And then we start to engage. Like, no, you don't have to. Oh, okay, thank you. And move on.
Right.
So, so like be mindful of your energy, of your space. So that's it. Stop and breathe and be with yourself. Love yourself. Be
Love
gentle,
yourself. And
love.
boundaries. Boundaries and accountability are a form of self-care and self-love too. So I love that you've said that. So breathe. And if our listeners want to contact you, of course, I'm going to have
Yes.
all of the information in the description, but do you want to give a shout out to any of your websites or links or handles?
Yeah, well, I've you know like stayed away from the online space for a while because I had a big contract with a college, you know, and their leaders. So I'm not as active on the web, but people can still contact me on Facebook. I have the Soul Listener. So you can go through it, and I've said things and that can be inspiring. And I think I have a few videos there. So there's that. My website, sourceandlight.com. So, well, you have my bio there, but there's a link if you want to book a consult with me. Also, on my links, I have a link tree. So, if you want to book a consult to see if working together could fit or work for both of us, I get to choose too. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, right now, as we speak, I have a waiting list for 3 months. You know, if you want to work with me, like that's the smallest way to work with me is 3 months. I have a wait list for that. So there's no space right now. And I think there will be space before fall for that. 6 months, I have 2 spots right now. I'm not really active in filling them up because it requires a lot of energy from people, like to participate in a space for 6 months. And I have a full year. But for this, I have only 2 people that I work for 12 months and they're filled. So, and with me, it's not a thing of you work like we have a call each week. We set up a flow of how we work together and how we manage, you know, the support. So and that comes in a conversation when we see you see how I work, because I don't think that true leaders need someone following them and holding their hands like every week for an hour, you know.
Yeah.
It's more like an organic way that I work with people, and I believe it's a little bit more impactful that way for
Yeah.
people. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. And I just want to say thank you one more time. And to our listeners, make sure that you hit that notification and subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. All of the information that you may need to get in contact with either of us will be in the description. And thank you all for being here. I hope that you have a great day and we'll see you next time. Bye.